Good morning. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching, and with Wednesday mornings pre-market trade review. So overnight in ES, we have had a range of 1635 to up to 1642.25, and during the day session, we have very high odds of tagging one of those two things. So at looking at this morning, while we're opening up in the lower end to middle of the ES overnight range, we over on NASDAQ, we are pushing the highs with about 12 minutes to go to the open. So generally or often NQ can lead ES higher. So with that being said, I'd be cautious on the fade out of the open. Looking at the trade plan itself, um, I have initial resistance up at 1648 to 1650, and I have initial support down at 1630.5 to 1632.5. And as I said, Globex low is at 1635 and gap fill is at 1639 and 3/4. I would suspect that if NQ is pushing, that we're going to get at least gap fill, if not a push up into 1642.50 would not be shocking. One thing I've noticed with this market is they're really throwing a lot at the market, a lot of uncertainty. And each time we're pushing down, we're getting met with responsive buyers that are pushing up. And it looks like more and more like we're coming to a resolution with the possible dropping of bombs over Syria. So my suspicion is once that gets resolved either way, that we could see a relief rally. So again, in the morning, due to the strength in the NQ, I'm not overly eager to fade right out of the gate. I'd rather see a push up and an extension up into higher levels, preferably at this point into that 1642.50 before I take a strong fade. Obviously, if we get a test of Globex lows, I would expect responsive buyers there on first touch, and certainly at Tuesday's lows. One thing I have noticed, if you look, we're having a series of closes in here between 1631 and 1639 over, with the exception of one day, 4 days in a row. And each day has been met with responsive buyers down in this area. And even with yesterday's news that we were going to go ahead and it looked for the most part like we were going to push for a bombing, or that the Senate is trying to find a way to get that done. And we still found responsive buyers here where we had supply. And we have a bit of supply right down here at this 1634, 1635 level. And I would expect them first touch down into this area to find responsive buyers. So I would also look for signs of a failure of range extension. And what would be those signs is either a tick extreme or tick divergence near the highs. Would be something I would look for and at least an attempt to push back down into this zone. Now, depending on how hard NQ rallies, when you build this much pressure, and this would be scenario 2, when you build this much pressure coming in, you're looking for a directional move out of balance, and we've been somewhat in balance over the last couple of days. So scenario 2 is if we break out and we break to new highs from the overnight range, I would not be surprised to see us push towards these previous day's highs, and then if we break above, we actually have quite a bit of room to come up into a gap fill up in this area. So two scenarios. I'm cautious on fading too early, and due to the strength in NASDAQ out of the gate, and I would look for pushes lower to set up long trades out of the gate. So that's what I'm looking for. Again, I'm only trading in the zones, and I'm focusing on first touch in particular. And I'm being very patient. All I need is 1 or 2 trades a day. And the highest odds location as far as trading goes is in the middle to the back of the zone. Not because the front of the zone is any weaker or doesn't provide a better trading location, but the further back you go into the zone, the smaller stop you can use to find out if it works. Most of my clients choose a 2 to 3 point stop from the middle to back, And so therefore, that's why I say the front of the zone is most aggressive. It requires the largest stop. The back of the zone is least aggressive. However, if you look through the history of the zones, it's not as high odds of getting filled. So second and third touches require evidence, tick divergence, tick extreme, things like this. Again, second touches can and do work. Third touches become very iffy. So again, our focus in building the account is on first touch. And we have two scenarios. I would expect a break out of this balance area. And again, we've been setting we set a higher low yesterday. And we did penetrate above the previous. We have been penetrating above the previous day's highs for 3 successive sessions. So it wouldn't be a shock to see us push up into this 1652, 1654 area at all. So again, remember today there'll probably be random news coming out. That's one of the factors we're going to be dealing with. And but the tendency has been to buy that news. So keep your heads up. Again, I'm not big on trading news. I don't look to trade the news. But first touches of zones have only failed once with the news, and that was yesterday. So at any rate, I hope everyone has a good day. Stick to your trade plan, stick to your stop losses, and if you get stopped, just take a big breath. It's part of the game plan is getting stopped. And remember, another trade will set up. I do stop if I get 2 stop outs in a row. I stop trading for the day. I just look forward to the following day. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Keep your heads on. See you guys.